This video is going to address a recent UK Telegraph news article I was made aware of recently called "Shortage of eligible men has left women taking desperate steps to preserve their fertility, experts say." The article is all about the latest female crisis, as they put it. The problem is, there are just no eligible, yes, eligible, university-educated men for women to have their pick from to marry. Oh, the unfairness. When will things finally get easier for women? I'm sure this is the last straw. Women will be throwing themselves off bridges soon if this oppression doesn't fucking stop. The news has just come in. Just when you thought the sky was the limit on women's expectations, they've broken the exosphere. And who says women can't excel, This is how fucking stupid the modern female axiom has become today. They are still baffled why there are no eligible men for them to choose from. Eligible, their words. Let me offer an analogy, ladies, as to why I think there are no eligible men for you today. Imagine I created a highly exclusive restaurant where, just for me to book you in, let alone allow you in for dinner, you had to have the precise, high-status brand of dress and shoes, affluence, IQ, beliefs, and generally have much, much higher standards of excellence than I, the owner of this exclusive restaurant. Would I then, as the restaurant owner, be justified in saying, "There are just no eligible people worthy of entering my highly exclusive restaurant? This is so cruel and unjust. I just don't understand." Do you see why rational adult men aren't marrying you anymore? You're effectively saying,
"I only date billionaires with a six-pack who have climbed Everest and have an IQ above 130.
While never having anything comparable to offer this mythical male that you desire as recompense yourselves. This attitude of yours, girls, is, I don't know, just so baffling and irritating to have to continually hear publicly in the media again and again. It's a variation of,
"Where are all the good billionaire supermodel geniuses? Where are all the successful good men?"
Anywhere but where you are, you psycho. Anyway, the following article linked below from the UK Telegraph that I'll be commenting on was via Global Man's response video to the same article I watched, also linked below. This article basically admits that women are at university to find husbands, and not because they have an interest in the career choices the courses would offer them. The courses for these women is to have something to fall back on when they end their marriages in the future and when their husband's money runs out. The article is so ridiculous, entitled, and so transparent of women that it reads like a joke, even though it isn't. They are being serious. So like others, I thought I'd weigh in on this article as well because, one, it's so fucking ridiculous that one is compelled to defend rationality in light of this trash, and two, these kinds of female-biased, deniability, no responsibility articles and memes serve as legitimacy of why men go MGTOW and hopefully why men out there may want to do the same after hearing this. In other words, this is why men have said, "Okay, this is stupid, I'm out." So, the article in question from the UK Telegraph, written by Laura Donnelly, health editor, on the 4th of July 2007 is called
"Shortage of eligible men has left women taking desperate steps to preserve their fertility, experts say."
The article starts,
"A dearth of marriageable men has left an oversupply of educated women taking desperate steps to preserve their fertility, experts say."
That one sentence alone says a lot. The words marriageable men plainly means worthy men by women's inflated standards, which further confirms that women are the choosers. Men don't have any real power in this dynamic, despite what the narrative tells us. Men aren't the choosers. Women are. And the term oversupply of educated women reinforces the view that there is an oversupply of women that men are simply not attracted to. What does that tell you? Look, ladies, idiots. You want men to ask you out and want you, right? But you don't want to be anything resembling what men find attractive. Can you see why men don't care about your needs anymore? Can you see the one-sidedness? Simply put, because you stopped caring about our needs, so why should we care about yours? I've never heard this bullshit of men wanting educated women.
Whoa, look at her, man. She's so educated.
I swear, can you understand why men have had enough of you? And this notion of
women taking desperate steps to preserve their fertility.
Yeah, poor women. The article suggests some crisis that we need to feel sorry for. If women didn't care about babies in their 20s while fertile, then why the expected sympathy now? I don't care. You reap what you sow. Women will offer this bullshit excuse.
Oh, I always wanted children, but I just didn't find the right guy.
Really? In your 20s? While you were travelling, sport fucking, having a career? Those times? Ladies, don't bullshit that you wanted to drastically change your carefree 20s feminist lives. It was fun. And you were telling guys, I'll settle down when I'm ready, take it or leave it. And guys left it. They left you. I mean, notwithstanding the immoral men who beat on or cheat on their women, why do you think older guys who want a family finally marry younger women? Could it be fertility? Gee, I wonder.
The first global study into egg freezing found that shortages of eligible men were the prime reason why women had attempted to take matters into their own hands.
So there aren't enough George Clooney's out there for women. No, it's apparently not women's fault. Women are now forced to take the drastic action of freezing their eggs while they can still use their eggs naturally. Could it be that these women are actually just freezing their eggs because they don't want to have children while in careers? So it's just convenient to say that they can't find men? So when are they planning to have kids? After menopause? Could it be that no man can tolerate these arrogant or entitled career feminists? So women are now resigned to do it on their own, so to speak, because there aren't enough Prada men around for their overpriced selves. Oh, Jesus. You see, guys, we're to blame because we're too bargain basement for them now. They're too high class in their eyes. And after women have spent their 20s and sometimes 30s holding out for the perfect guy, in their eyes, they'd better not have waited for nothing. So that's why their expectations are so high. And since we can't compete with daddy government either, and we can't compete with the top earning university educated men, we really need to lift our game, guys, according to women.
Experts say terrifying demographic shifts have created a deficit of educated men and a growing problem of leftover professional women.
Terrifying demographic shifts, huh? Could those shifts be your own gynocentric doing? Feminism, perhaps? No, couldn't be. Let's not treat the cause, let's just keep pointing at the symptoms. And when you say things like,
experts say terrifying demographic shifts have created a deficit of educated men and a growing problem of leftover professional women,
you reveal how truly disposable you view men. The deficit of educated men is termed as men lacking in something, in your eyes, whereas the professional women are simply left over. Oh, won't someone please think of the poor professional goddesses unable to find their respective kings, for fuck's sake.
With female graduates vastly outnumbering males in many countries, the study led by Yale University involved interviews with 150 women undergoing egg freezing at 8 clinics. Researchers found that in more than 90% of cases, the women were attempting to buy extra time because they could not find a partner to settle down with amid a dearth of educated men.
So women are admitting that they refuse to lower their ridiculous standards to, say, an average working male and would rather play Star Trek freezing games with their eggs than consider anyone other than an educated man. Okay, fine, ladies. Enjoy your hard single mother life of a geriatric while still in the office and never seeing your kid in daylight. Fucking idiots, I swear. Why do they even have driver's licenses?
Experts said the research busts the myth that selfish career women were choosing to put their fertility on ice in a bid to put their careers first.
Busts the myth? Oh, for Pete's sake. You just admitted in the very previous sentence that you refuse to settle for anything below an educated and professional man. His career or your career. What's the fucking difference? You're admitting that money and career is the most important thing to you. Bottom line, you're willing to kill your future child to never have children again because you care about money so much. Bust the myth, my ass. More like reveals your natures.
They said sweeping social changes meant that many professional women now struggle to find a partner that felt like an equal match.
Ooh, sweeping social changes. You could have just said feminism. And the phrase that women felt like they couldn't find an equal match. No, ladies, as usual, you don't want an equal match. You want a more successful man, and men have had it trying to up their game for you. There are limits to these things, you know. We're done. Enjoy your careers. Have all the male privilege you want. You don't appreciate guys below your level? Fine. So learn to enjoy solitude then.
In recent decades, the gender balance at British universities has tipped dramatically. In 1984, 45% of UK students were female, but by 2000, 54% were women.
You see, even with the imbalance of women to men in universities, we're not told that men need to be helped now to balance this disparity. No, the message is still poor women, and there aren't enough men for them to marry. Unbelievable.
This group, now in their late 30s...
Yes, in their 30s. Took you long enough to casually mention it. What were you doing in your 20s, girls? Why are you so desperate now in your 30s or beyond? It doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to deduce how 1 + 1 = 2 here. You waited too long and your standards are too high. You can't sell yourselves for full price like you did in your youth. Line the milk you've let sour. I don't care.
This group, now in their late 30s, is finding it harder to find a man of equal status, fertility experts said, and the trend is set to steepen in future generations, they warned, with nearly 6 in 10 current students female.
6 in 10 students currently female, and that figure increasing. And you still don't want to think gynocentrism? No? Okay then, as you were.
The research presented at the European Society of Human Reproduction and Embryology conference in Geneva was based on detailed interviews with women in the United States and Israel, but the lead author said similar trends were likely in the UK, where women are 35% more likely than men to go to university.
So UK women are 35% more likely to go to university than men, and women still won't even consider any male other than a university-educated man.
Marcia Inhorn, professor of anthropology at Yale University, said professional women found themselves losing out in a game of musical chairs because there were simply too few men of the same caliber to go around.
Look how it makes men sound. You know, they're a treat that's passed around and there's too few of us to go around. You know, I never hear of men complaining that, look at all the money I have. It's a shame there aren't enough women on my level. I guess I'll have to freeze my sperm. Given how women would rather freeze their eggs and remain alone than be with a nice or less successful individual, it really tells you something about their nature and psyche. And here's the hypocrisy, ladies. You enforce affirmative action programs to get more women into university. Then, here's the stupid female duality at work. You simultaneously cheer that women outnumber men at 60%, and then in the next breath complain that women outnumber men at 60%. You know, there's a reason men go their own way. There's also a reason some men choose homosexuality over you, but it's just a theory.
There is a major gap. There are literally missing men.
They're missing men, not in the longing for men sense, but in the sense where they should just have them.
There's an inequality against women. Quick, plug the eligible husband gap.
Women want eligible husband welfare.
There are not enough college graduates for them. In simple terms, this is about an oversupply of educated women, she said.
Correction. From a male's point of view, in marital terms, it's an oversupply of unappealing educated women.
In China, they call them leftover women. It sounds cold and callous, but in demographic terms, this is about missing men and leftover women. The former president of the Society for Medical Anthropology said the women interviewed in the study were highly successful, with 81% having a college degree. These are highly educated, very successful women, and one after another, they were saying they couldn't find a partner. How could it be that all these amazing, attractive, intelligent women were lamenting about their ability to find a partner, she said.
Oh, Jesus. The same old story. How can it be that all these amazing, attractive, intelligent, successful, blah, 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 educated princesses can't find their princes? It's really odd. It just doesn't make any sense. Women can't understand. Why wouldn't men want all these Mensa-level Cleopatras? They're everywhere. Why indeed? Here's a hint. Maybe because these women aren't attractive to men. Does anyone want to listen to what men find appealing? Still no? Okay. Keep going, ladies.
The answer comes in the demographics. Growing disparities in the education levels of men and women. The anthropologist suggested some women might need to be prepared to compromise some of their standards in order to find love, but she suggested society should act to increase the number of men going into higher education.
You almost had it, ladies. Just when the anthropologist suggests that women need to compromise their inflated standards, they then come to their feminist senses and suggest artificially increasing men into universities the way they do for women. But still, it's not for men's sake, no, it's for the ladies. We're husband objects, guys. You see, we're not going to abolish the quota system so that guys can meretriciously get into STEM again. No, they want men in those subjects so they can be objects that women can choose to marry. Oh, but they say men aren't objectified. Sure, okay.
It may be about rethinking the way we approach this, she said. Most women who are educated would like to have an educated partner. Traditionally, women have also wanted to marry up, to go for someone more successful, financially well off.
Traditionally? Try always. It's never been any different. Women always marry up. This article points out that nothing has changed for women, only that women have upped their standards now.
Maybe women need to be prepared to be more open to the idea of a relationship with someone not as educated, but also may need to be doing something about our boys and young men to get them off to a better start. Some women were paying a high price for feminism, she suggested.
Gee, you think?
As a feminist, I think it's great that women are doing so well, but I think there has been a cost that has been paid, she said, warning that many had been left in sadness and isolation.
So even though women are sad and isolated now, you still refuse to let go of your hot stove of feminism. You still call yourself a feminist proudly. Okay, fine. Burn then. But please, continue.
In some cases, the women taking part in the in-depth interview said they would be happy to be in a relationship with someone less educated, but they felt they were intimidating to the men who were available.
Oh, fuck off. Just fuck off. You just spent the first half of this article saying that the problem was the scarcity of successful, powerful and educated men for women to choose from. And now you're humbly saying how noble women are, that they would choose men beneath them, but it's the men, the men that would be intimidated. So women have no choice but to take the second prize of Christian Grey. Do you listen to your mental gymnastics? Jesus. How are the majority of you women teachers if this is the way you rationalise? I can barely listen to female politics these days. Now I know why porn, where women have ball gags in their mouths, is so popular. Women love talking about how noble they'd be in hypothetical situations, like how they gave up becoming a CEO of a multinational corporation because she just decided to have kids. Ooh, what a sacrifice. Or in this case, how they'd date a man with a menial job like a cleaner, but the cleaner would just be too intimidated by this loving, successful and giving woman. Give me a break. Look, everyone says a noble platitude to come off sounding well and even fool themselves into feeling better by saying it, like the smoker who says,
I can stop at any time.
And men aren't intimidated by your careers, ladies. We're tired of dealing with the feminist egotism that comes with your careers. We've given up because we know we aren't really wanted unless we're more educated or more powerful than you are now. Women love pushing men's shame button.
Men are so intimidated.
Rather than facing the plain facts, girls, that men don't desire you much anymore, rather than look at why men are going their own way, away from you, rather than asking why aren't men desiring me anymore, you say to yourselves, men are intimidated. Yeah, how convenient. Anyway, keep going.
Researchers said that until now, many commentators on egg freezing had assumed that it was being driven by a desire to preserve fertility while rising up the career ladder. I think this is an issue that has been misinterpreted so much. This idea of a selfish career woman putting her fertility on hold, said Professor Inhorn. Professor Geta Nagun, medical director of UK clinics Create Fertility, said it is something to celebrate that more women are going to university and getting educated, but at the same time, when it comes to starting a family, it seems there is now a societal problem with these women finding men at the same level of education. Women tell us frequently that they are freezing their heads because the men they meet feel threatened by their success and so unwilling to commit to starting a family together.
Oh, fuck, it's painful. Over and over again, no matter what you tell them, for both your own mutual happinesses, you keep repeating the same one-sided shaming of,
I'm wonderful and men are intimidated by my wonderfulness.
It's painful. It's fucking painful. Anyway, continue.
Professor Adam Ballin, president of the British Fertile Society, said, we are seeing some big societal issues, in particular in some social economic groups, with young men not committing.
And still, no one's asking men why they're not committing. We're just supposed to commit, right? That's right. Just keep discussing amongst yourselves and keep telling yourselves it's because we're intimidated by female perfection. And by the way, it's not men who can't commit. The divorce rate overwhelmingly shows that women are the ones who can't commit. It's a fact. Look it up in your funkin' Wagnalls.
1 in 5 women in the UK is now childless by the end of their fertile life, compared to 1 in 10 a generation before, he said.
Why should I care about this if, by women's example, over the last half a century, they don't care about their own childlessness? And even if most of us wanted to give you sympathy, you wouldn't touch our sympathy with a 10-foot pole unless we were more successful and educated. Men aren't saving you anymore, ladies. We're tired of you. We're walking away from you. Save yourselves. We'll be over here playing our childish video games. They're a bit more fulfilling.
Last year, less than 105,000 male 18-year-olds started university compared with almost 135,000 females, ACAS figures showed, with more women than men on 2/3 of courses. The gender gap for higher education is now as large as between rich and poor, which was described as a worrying inequality by former UCAS Chief Executive Mary Kernot Cook.
Oh, with the shameless sophistry, equating rich and poor disparity with women not having access to enough successful men to marry. And how now it's a worrying inequality when the once fantastic 60% female university enrollment now means that consequently there are only 40% of eligible men to choose from. You can't have it both ways, ladies. Choosing one thing affects another. Equilibrium, as it were. You'd know this if any of you ever enrolled in STEM subjects.
British fertility experts said the gulf was terrifying. Dr. Gillian Lockwood, Executive Director of IVF, said, it exacerbates the problem of men not wanting to settle down and start a family until it's almost too late for the women to conceive naturally.
Yeah, we're just supposed to settle down. It's a problem. Why can't we just do it? Can't we just do what we're told? Look, by the way, call me crazy, but aren't you ladies supposed to be in university, to study a field and start your careers because you have an interest in it? Nah, I didn't think so. It's all about getting married, isn't it?
And if she insists, he's quite likely to leave for a younger woman whose biological clock isn't ticking quite so loudly.
Exactly. As I talked about in my previous video, Older Women, the Expired Lottery Tickets, modern women aren't usually ready to settle down these days in their 20s. They keep their options continually opened as they fuck bad boys and travel until they get to their 30s when it's getting a bit too late. So it's rational for a man to have kids with a more fertile woman, a younger one.
Her own survey of women doing social egg freezing found the overwhelming majority of women having their eggs frozen were doing so because they could not find a partner or because their own partner would not commit.
This begs the question, if you can't find a man because of your goddess standards, be more realistic. If your partner won't commit, why not? What is it about you that he finds so repulsive or off-putting? If he never wanted kids in the first place, why the fuck did you choose him? Any way you look at it, what the fuck are you doing?
Typically, it costs around £10,000 to freeze eggs and keep them in storage for 10 years in the UK.
Could this be another reason why these professional older women can't find men? Not just because of their feminist attitudes, but what sane man, who probably isn't stupid if he's making more than her, would help fund her egg-freezing, petri dish, baby-making roulette game that costs £10,000 a pop? I think I found another reason why men aren't choosing barren women. We just don't want to fund your science experiments in old age.
Professor Simon Fischel, founder of Care Fertility, said, "Anthropologically, we are always searching, consciously or unconsciously, for like-minded people, so it is not a great leap to understand that women are looking for someone on the same level who is university educated or a professional. This problem of missing men is absolutely the case in many situations in the UK, but there is a wider problem because the increasing desire for egg freezing, not least about men and women being too unaware of their biological clocks."
Oh, piss off. Men don't have a biological clock, and we're not unaware of yours. We can have kids into our grey years if we so choose. It would be insane, but we can. It's just biology. And considering older men, if they want to be dads later, tend to choose younger fertile women, one would think women would snap out of feminist axioms one day and start having children in their 20s and start families. But no. I love how it's a joint responsibility when it comes to this problem of fertility of women in their older ages. I love how it's a joint responsibility now for men and women when women are in their 30s and 40s and can't conceive. Look, women control when and if kids happen. If women wait too long, it's their fault, not men's. Women have created their own misery.
Almost all of the women in the study who employed egg freezing were heterosexual and wanted to become married mothers, the research found. Women lamented the missing men in their lives, viewing egg freezing as a way to buy time while on the continuing online search for a committed partner.
Women, you're not lamenting the missing men. You're lamenting your missing potential children now, and you don't want to face your conscience. It's your fault. It's over.
The study found that more than 90% of those freezing their eggs were not intentionally postponing their fertility because of education or careers. Rather, they were desperately preserving their fertility beyond the natural end of their reproductive lives because they were single without partners to marry.
Oh, Jesus. It's fucking painful. Jesus, you are intentionally postponing your fertility, ladies, because your standards are so fictionally high that the chances of finding that man are almost zero when you're older and will most likely leave you childless and unhappy.
In most cases, these women were unable to find educated men willing to commit to family life, the reflection of a growing but little discussed gender trend, with women increasingly outnumbering male college graduates, the report found.
Ladies, the standards you demand are not the standards you possess. At the bare minimum, if you want a fit, smart and confident man, logic would suggest that you reflect those standards yourselves too. And no, ladies, despite what the movie Bridget Jones' Diary suggests, two good-looking, smart, sensitive and successful men are not going to be fighting over a couch walrus like you. So, girls, fine, keep following your childish, nonsensical and histrionic ways. Gentlemen, my suggestion, stay away from women who possess these very common gynocentric neuroses. Don't do as they tell you, but rather do as you rationally tell yourself. Go your own way, for God's sake. Later, gentlemen. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, or donate. Thanks.